Hey everybody, it's Liz Cooper-Smith with Silver Charm Events. Let's see the picture. This is one of my favorite sayings. It's in my that's in my office. People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. So I got a picture of me. Whoops. Pop, pop. There I am. Whoops. Forgive me, it's like my third Periscope, so I'm still a little rough. So yeah, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And basically why I do it is because I love weddings. I love weddings. I love the love. I love the joy. I love being able to help people create the wedding that they want. So speaking of that, today we're going to talk about bridal budget bandages. So first of all, and I was telling somebody this story, everyone has a wedding budget. Everybody has a wedding budget. Kim and Kanye had a wedding budget. And the reason that I know that is because, you know, E was footing the bill for everything, and E's not going to go crazy. What E's going to do is make everything look so gorgeous, like gorgeous and luxe enough. But Kim and Kanye had a budget. It might have been $1 million, might have been $2 million, but they had a budget. Everyone has a budget. I've got another great story that I was telling somebody. This is a few years ago. I coordinated a wedding at the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles, and we were talking. I was talking to the bride about, you know, basically how much all this stuff was going to cost. She had 250 guests. She was getting married at the museum. She was getting like this fantastic caterer, and a shout out to About Time Catering, who's helping me on a wedding in October. And I said, well, you know, there's all these costs, all these things that are going to come up. And what I do with my clients is you can fill out a credit card authorization form. And so when something comes up, there's a charge that you approve, then I can go ahead and take care of that for you, and you don't have to worry about it. And so she says, she gets into her wallet, she pulls out her Black American Express card and hands it to me and says, okay, but I don't want to spend more than $100,000 on this wedding. And I said, okay, and took her card, and she ended up spending about $80,000. But, you know, even she had a budget. But anyway, basically, you know how this wedding thing goes. You've been doing this for a while, so you get wedding goggles. You find something, and you're like, you know, I love this, I must have this. I must have this lighting package. I must have the 4 appetizers of all different sorts of chocolate and beef and shrimp and all this stuff. And at some point you look around in your head, you're starting to calculate it, and then you look around and you realize that you have gone over your budget by probably a bunch, but definitely more than you need to like spend and that you want to spend. And this is all about creating the wedding that you want. And the wedding that you want might be $15,000, it might be $35,000, but it is not $55,000. It is not spending $10,000 on flowers. And so then you've got to figure out what it is that you need to do. So we're going to go through a couple of steps. I'm going to go through the first one, which I always tell everybody, which is the biggest way to save money on your wedding, no matter what time, no matter when you're starting to plan it, is cut your guest list. So seriously, if you figured out you're over, and you figured out that you're over, and you figured out that you need to cut, and you have not sent any invitations out, first thing you need to do, go to the boards, go to your guest list, and start making chops. Just think about it this way. Every single guest is a appetizer, is a drink, usually 2 or 3 drinks, is a entree, is a piece of cake, is things like if you're doing like a bare venue, like a venue where you have to bring everything in, it is a plate and a spoon and a knife and a fork and 2 or 3 glasses. And so, you know, that tends to add up. 10 people is a table. So the first thing you should need to do, and this is only if you send invites out, because it gets a little messy if you try and do this afterwards, is cut your guest list. Start small. Start with a couple of couples. So start with like 4 people. What 4 people do you have to cut? And then you can move on to, then calculate what that's going to save you. What 6 people do you have to cut? Now, the thing about cutting your guest list, and if you go to my website, www.silvercharmevents.com, and click on blog, I have this whole thing on saving money on your wedding. is if you're going to start cutting people, make sure that you talk to the people who are involved. So make sure, oh, and you guys, if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. I think I forgot to say hi to everybody. But thanks to everybody who's coming. Before you start cutting people, make sure that you go ahead and talk to the people who are going to be affected. So if it is your fiance's side of the family, make sure you talk to him or her. Hi, Regional Cells. Make sure you talk to him or her and make sure it's okay. Make sure that you talk to their families and make sure it's okay. You just want to make sure that you're not putting anybody else in a situation where they've got to explain why it is that such and such person is not coming to the wedding. But yeah, that is the first tip. The second tip that I can give you on that, and yes, I am checking my list. The second tip that I can give you on that is cut out the upgrades. So if you have added the lighting package, if you have added the 4 appetizers, knock them out. And the best way to do that is to go to your venue or go to your catering manager and say to them, hi, I'm on 1137, and say to them, I need to cut some money out of the budget. It helps, and this is another tip, it helps if you tell them or if you keep in mind how much you want to cut out. Is it $1,000? Is it $2,000? Hey, Renee, is it $4,000? Whatever it is, and then come to them with that number. So you will say to your catering manager, we need to lower the cost on this a little bit, and don't be ashamed. I know it's sort of hard. Money is like a big deal in this country, obviously, and you feel bad if you can't spend stuff, and you feel bad if you have to pay less, but you know what, it's your money, it's your budget, and you should defend it. So come to them and say, is there any way we can cut the cost on the catering and still stay within the minimum amount that I have to spend? So can you cut your 4 appetizers to 2? Would it make it easier and less money if you put everything on the appetizers on the table as opposed to having past apps? Is there a way to downgrade the bar? What is it that you can do in order to save money? And you know, the thing of it is, another thing, that whole shame thing, that whole fear thing of asking, is that we have all been through this before. As you can imagine, as a wedding coordinator, I get asked how we can save money or if we need something all the time. Every venue manager, every vendor, every caterer, every photographer, everybody has been facing the question of how it is that their couples are going to save money. So this is not something new. People are not going to think less of you. You've got to do what it is that you've got to do. Just ask it nicely, and remember to ask as opposed to demand. So that's it. So at least you're not coming off as rude. So, you know, you gotta spend money, but you know, at least you're not being rude about it. Oh, let's see. What's the second one? And like I said, this is all on my blog as well. So you can go to silvercharm.com blog. Let's see. So cut your guest list, cut your catering, and the bar. Bars are expensive. People usually drink somewhere between 3 and 4 drinks a night. They do. I'm sorry. That's what happens. Hi, idea 109447. I think I got that right. Thank you so much for coming. Let's see. Yes, be honest about your rental list. So basically try and figure out exactly what it is that you need and exactly what it is that you can get away with. If some things can double up, like can you use the cake table as like an appetizer table or vice versa? Can you, is there a way to do half as many chairs so you have chairs for your ceremony, you have chairs for your reception? Can you just do one set of chairs, which is actually not the first thing that I recommend, just because that gets a little messy and somebody's got to move all those chairs. And if your guests and your wedding is the type of wedding where nobody minds like grabbing a chair and pulling it over to their table, that's fine. But if we're talking about crisscrossing in cocktail hours, that can get a little iffy. But you don't need like 15 extra chairs. You don't need like 20 extra chairs. You don't need an extra table unless the caterer needs that. But just be honest with your list and go over everything with your caterer. Go over everything with your rental company. Let them know that you have to get like your minimum. You have to work with that. And then flowers and decorations. Again, what I was talking about upgrading, you can also downgrade, you know? So maybe you can go to your florist and say, okay, I still want the same look that we were talking about, but how can I do that for less? Do you add more filler? Do you use a different type of flower? Do you have a smaller centerpiece? Do you have a smaller bouquet? Do you know, some way where you can still feel like you're having a gorgeous wedding, that you're having the wedding that you want, but you're spending a little less. And then as you go through this, you're actually going to feel better about yourself. You're going to actually feel better about your wedding, which is, you know, sort of the whole point when you're planning this, because you are saving money, you are finding ways to save money, and you are doing what it is that you need to do. And then also, one of the other things to think about, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, is this is why deposits are so fantastic, because you're putting in a deposit on like a preliminary guess on what it is that you're going to be spending, but you're not giving them the whole entire balance all at once, or at least in most cases, you're not giving the whole entire balance at once. So you've got wiggle room, you have flexibility. If you need it, use it. And just, again, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Do not be afraid to ask. We are all here for you. And, you know, we're here to give you the wedding that you want. And does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Hi, Kristen. Yeah, so what you can do if you want to read the rest of my article, like I said, go to my website, which is silvercharmevents.com, and click on blog and scroll down a little bit to yesterday's blog on bridal bandages. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can email me directly at liz@silvercharmevents.com. Hi, Vicaro. Goodness, how do people say that like all at once? I'm new. Don't mind me. You can email me directly at liz@silvercharmevents.com. And also just a heads up, I write the, hi Julie! I write the weekly wedding advice column for a website called thebrokeassbride.com. That's going to be coming out Friday morning. And then I'm also going to be doing a Periscope later on Friday, just answering questions. But in the meantime, if you do have a question for me, for Liz, for the Broke Ass Bride, go ahead and email me directly at, yes, it's one of my favorites too, which is why I've been writing for it for about 5 years. Email me directly with your question at liz@silvercharmevents.com. Or go to my Facebook page, which is, again, facebook.com/silvercharmevents, and go ahead and put in a question, and your question will show up on the blog this week, because I have space for one more question. So go ahead and email me, come back here Friday, probably around noon, but I'll let you guys know, for an Ask Liz follow-up. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for the hearts. It always makes me feel so good. It's like, you know, when people wish you happy birthday on Facebook. But thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.